Well, folks, happy Thursday to you all. I said I'd pop on tonight. I have a special guest joining me, fellow Dubliner. He's on the other side of the city. I'm on the north side of the city. Paul Byrne. Paul, legendary. Great to have you on. How are you keeping?
Yeah, really good. All is good for me at the moment. On and off the field, I'm sort of looking after the Black Forwards, a few ex-players that played the League of Ireland, Paul McNally and Boca Bailey and a few of the lads, just to keep the interest in the game going, yourself. And we're going off to Glasgow now next week to meet some of the old teammates that I played with over there for a bit of a charity game over there. So I'm looking forward to that.
Tell us a bit about this charity game, so just for anyone that's watching.
Yeah, it's a game that's like, we used to play quite a lot of games for the Celtic legends and stuff like that, but I faded away a little bit away from a few of them over the years, but got in contacted there a couple of weeks ago. There's a big history between the two clubs, between Celtic and the charity that I'm going over to play for. So it's always great to go back and see old friends, but it's also great to give a little back to the people in the charity.
Exactly. St. Roch's, good affiliation. Obviously, William Maley as well. So it's their anniversary, and it's 130 years. Or 25 years.
Yeah, it's 125 years for them, and I think it's a great achievement and fanatical Celtic support, and I think that's one of the main connections of the charity game, and it's been going a long time now, and I'm just honoured and privileged to be going over and to be involved in it as it's such a good cause.
I know you left Celtic back in 1995, but how many times have you been back to Glasgow since?
Yeah, I go back quite. We used to go back when I first left the club. I go back quite often, but over the years, things sort of fizzled out. But still kept in contact with the likes of John Hartson and Rudy Vata and a few of the players. Simon Donnelly, Jackie McNamara comes over. John stayed here a couple of times in my apartment. So did Jackie. I've a bit of a connection there with Jackie, with young footballers coming from Dublin now, and it's been good. As I say, but it's in your blood, you know what I mean? It never leaves you, and no matter what way you're going to be connected. The Celtic family always looked after me. They always look after all their ex-players, and you know yourself, once you leave Glasgow Football Club, there's only one place you're going, is backwards, and I think a lot of players have realised that over the years, and I was one of them.
So tell me about how it started off. You originally came from Bluebell, was that correct?
Yeah, Bluebell in Chicore. My father was in Chicore, my mother was Bluebell, but we moved to Clondalkin with a great football connection with the likes of the Clarks and all up there, and the Cumminses and Mark O'Neill, who went away to play in England, Maxie McCann, and we, it was only about 8 or 9 at the time, and we played a lot of street football. There was no cars on the road, and 1-2 off the pat, and you're playing poles, and we'd make our own goals out of onion sacks and planks and stuff like that. So we played football morning, noon, and night, and even in the schoolyard. But that's where I sort of filleted my trade. My father was had a very good footballing brain too. So between that and street football, it's where it all started for me. Yeah.
So you obviously, when you were growing up as a kid, early 80s would have been like the likes of Paul McStay, Danny McGrain, Roy Aiken, all these lads with Celtic.
Yeah,
Johnny Doyle.
Yeah, it was a lot of them players that you just named there. But when I actually went to Glasgow Celtic, it's a funny story. Frank Connor now, he's passed away. God love him. He was brilliant for me. The first 6 months in the reserves, and I walks out in Parkhead, and they're taking the photographs and stuff like that. And Frank walks by me and goes, "All right, kiddo." And I goes, "All right." And he goes, "Are you here to clean the stands?" I says, "No, I'm the new winger." He says, "Act me arse." He says, "You can't be a new winger." He says, "The size of you." So that was my introduction to into Celtic Park. And another story about Jimmy Johnston. I come off the pitch after scoring against Aberdeen at home. We won 2-1. Jimmy Johnston says to me, "You have to be the fattest winger in Scottish football." But I took them as compliments from the two legends that they were.
Class, absolutely class. So you went to Oxford, and then you went to Arsenal for a couple of months, and then you came home.
Yeah, I started off as a 13-year-old at Oxford. It's unheard of now. That doesn't happen now. These rules all come in now. They can't go away to their 18 and stuff like that. It's a good thing and it's a bad thing, But I was one of the ones that left home at 13. A fella called Noel McCabe was the scout who obviously discovered the Roy Keane and sent him to Forest. A Dublin man. He used to always go down to all the games on a Honda 50. So I started off at Oxford, but the team at Oxford back then was being likes of like Ray Houghton, John Ulrich, Jeremy Charles. They won the Mill Cup, Davy Langan, players like that, and they beat QPR 3-0 in the final, and I signed this the year just after that, the start of the new season. And it was a great experience for me because I broke into the first team at 16 and I played a lot of league games, which stood me in good stead for when I went to the likes of Glasgow Celtic, because I wasn't just coming from sort of League of Ireland football or junior football. I was after getting like 60 odd games under my belt for Oxford. And then obviously I went to Arsenal after Oxford. I fell out with a manager called Byrne.It after 6 years, and I felt I was going really nowhere at Oxford. I'd been broken to the first team at 16. I was sort of playing really well and sort of fell out with the manager, and I ended up going to Arsenal under George Graham. And so their reserve team back then would have been Ray Parlour, David Hilliard, Anders Limpard, David Rocastle. So I was playing with the likes of these players at Arsenal, so really got a good strong foundation for my footballing career moving forward. But it's like every kid, when you go away and you come home, you always think it's the end of the road for you. And I ended up going for a team up in the north called Bangor Football Club, and it was probably some of the best football I've ever played, with the likes of Ricky McAvoy and people like that up there. Nigel Best was the manager, and I went on to do extraordinary things up there. And the likes of Man City were interested, and other clubs started poking their nose in. But once Celtic came in, it was a no-brainer for me with Liam Brady, and I won all the Writers Junior, the Players Senior, the Players Junior Player of the Year. Georgie Best gave me trophies. I scored a winning goal in the Bathurst Cup final, and to top it all off, I signed a 3-year contract at Glasgow Celtic Football Club. So,
did you score against Linfield when you were playing for Bangor?
Yeah, I scored against Linfield. I actually got a hat trick against Linfield in the League Cup at up in
Windsor.
At Windsor Park. Yeah, so that was a bit of a. When I first signed for Celtic, it was always about, did you score against Linfield? Did you ever play against them? And this, that, and the other. And it's just like on a smaller scale of the Rangers Celtics scenario. But obviously, the rest is history. When I went to Celtic Football Club, I never thought my wildest dreams that I would actually play in Celtic's first team. And I lived with Liam Brady for 6 months. That was obviously to keep an eye on me, obviously, and get me fit and lose the bit of timber that Frank Connor was talking about. And I never thought I'd get into the first team, and all of a sudden then Liam Brady is coming to me and said, look, I'm going to put you in against St Johnstone. And I went and I scored. Fergus McCann. It was Fergus McCann's introduction, and I think it was the takeover around that takeover time, and I scored a goal against St Johnstone. It's in actually one of the books here that I have in the house. It was just a great journey for me, and as I said to you, when it came to an end, I couldn't really complain about anything. Tommy Burns, I played in the League Cup final. I scored me penalty. Paul McStay missed his penalty, so got a runners-up medal, and I played in every round of the Scottish Cup, except for the final. I scored a couple of goals along that journey as well. And then from a young Irish man to come from Ireland to go to Glasgow Celtic, the biggest club in the world, and in my eyes, anyway, the biggest club in the world, and the support that they had, and the support they had here in Ireland, to go and score twice against Rangers and play against them 8 times, it was just mind blowing for me. And that was my introduction to Glasgow Celtic Football Club. And ever since then, there's always somebody, and there's always someone from the club or some sort of supporter. No matter where you go in the world, they'll always remind you of that, even though it's 30 years ago. And it's, in my eyes, to come from Ireland and play 8 times against Rangers and score twice, it's a great achievement.
100%. So when you were playing up in the north, a scout came over and approached you, saying Celtic are interested in you. Do you fancy coming over, having the conversation?
Yeah, it was actually bizarre, because it was during the awards that this all happened, because I was going to City. I was going to sign for Man City, and the Writers Awards was on in Belfast, the hotel in Belfast, and that's when I won all the awards and stuff like that. Georgie Best gave me my trophies. I think Gordon, I have a photograph there myself, Gordon Banks, Pat Jennings and Georgie Best of that night that I was given the trophies. And someone said it in passing that, Glasgow Celtic are interested in you, and, I think you should really think about it. And I didn't really know anything about it. And then it came a light that the Glasgow Celtic were interested, and Liam Brady got me phone number, and we had a good conversation. Liam said to me, Man City is a great club, but he says, if you come to Glasgow Celtic Football Club, it'll change your life. And it did. It changed my life. No matter what people think of Paul Byrne after Glasgow Celtic, or he was good enough, I thought I held me on. at the time that Celtic was going through such a bad time. We didn't know whether the club was going to survive, not survive, we were going to be paid, not going to be paid, who was taking over. Those types of things that were going on off the field. And you know yourself, when you're playing for Glasgow Celtic Football Club, you're scrutinised when you're playing on and off the field. And at that particular time, we weren't really playing well. We did a very, very good side, but I think everybody would agree the side that we had was sort of coming towards the end, like with Charlie Nicholas, Frank McAvenny, with Gary Gillespie, with Tony Mowbray, with Tosh McKinley. Players like that were sort of coming to the end, and then the likes of myself and Stuart Gray, Brian McLaughlin, Simon Donnelly, we were all expected to step into the shoes of these boys who've been Celtic legends, the Paul McStays, the John Collinses, the Peter Granson. It was a very, very difficult time, but I thought at the time, with the club the way it was, I just thought I did hold my own in the first team, and I'm not ashamed to say, I did my best for the club. And a lot of people appreciate it more now and realise that it was so hard and so difficult to play for Celtic at the time. And I was probably one of the better players at the time. Other people will agree, other people won't agree, but that's just the way it was for me as a footballer.
So you made your debut in 1993 for them. It's against St. Johnstone.
Yeah, I made my debut. It was Liam Brady told me, and Peter, I remember Peter Grant. Go ahead.
Was it Celtic Park or was it McDermott Park?
No, it was McDermott Park, and then I had a good run at the team. I about 7 or 8 games, and I was doing really well. I was sort of fearless, and I was fit, and Liam had got me fit, and I was fearless, and I was training with the first team, and I was really, really enjoying my game. And then someone all of a sudden, then the World Cup squad was starting being mentioned. Ray Houghton was sort of going to finish after that World Cup, and there was a lot of high expectations of Paul Byrne at the time. And Jack Charlton came and he put me into a few squads, and I was sub against Russia at Lansdowne Road, and things were really going in the right direction. I just missed out on the World Cup squad that year. I was on all the coins, I'd done all the sponsorship, done the song and the Guinness stores, and it was a really, really good time for Paul Byrne. And I think where it all went a little bit skew for me was when the likes of Mick McCarthy took over, and I was good enough for Jack Charlton. I don't know what went on with Packy and Mick McCarthy, but there was conversations back and forwards about me at the time. I don't know. But it just felt very strange that I was in Jack Charlton's squad and I wasn't even entitled to a friendly game under Mick McCarthy to further my international career. And I think that hurt me a little bit. It damaged me a little bit. Start overthinking and lost a little bit of performances. And as I said, I was involved in the Scottish Cup right up to the final. Tommy dropped me. He was signing the likes of players like Pierre Van Hooydonk, Cadetti, and the Canyon, and all these boys were coming through. So I just thought my time at Celtic was coming to an end when I didn't play a part in the Scottish Cup final. And it was a hard time for me. And all of a sudden, then another Irish manager came in to take me down south, and that was Ronnie Whelan. And I did really enjoy my time under Ronnie, and with some great times in the first season. But things started to go a little bit sour, and towards the end of my South End career, once Ronnie left as well, so it was difficult too.
I want to talk about the derby games. I'd say, you said you played eight derbies against Rangers. What was the first experience like leading up to it?
Yeah, it was funny because we used to go to a place called Seamill, and the boys, the likes of Peter Grant, were always the jokers of the team, and I couldn't really sleep the night before, and we were sitting down at the dinner table, and there was things going back and forwards. Bungie, you got your brown slip on for the match tomorrow, and you're going to be starting. Back then, they used to name the team before your dinner, and you're going to be playing. So it gives you a lot to think about and take on board. Like, Jesus, I'm playing against Rangers. But the week before that, I played in a reserve match against Rangers at Ibrox, and I scored. So I sort of knew what the atmosphere would be like. I think there was 27,000 at that game or something like that for a reserve match. But leading up to the game, it was, as I said to you, I was playing very, very well in the first team at the time, and he came, he says, you're going to start the game, and I'll never forget it. We actually won the game 2-1, and basically, I played really well. I got man of the match that day. I actually come off to a standing ovation in the 85th minute, and it was just a great occasion. And I remember it was 1-1, and I'm breaking down the right in about the 88th, 89th minute, just touching the 90th minute, and I've broke down the right, and I've gone to whip across in, and it's gone in for a corner kick. Gone out for a corner kick, sorry. And just 5 minutes just before that, big Brian O'Neill had come on the park, and when Brian came on, the corner came in. So he met as sweet as a nut, and he put it in the top corner, and we won 2-1. So it was an amazing experience for me, and one of my first team games at Ibrox.
And it's crazy to think now. Like you go back to that goal you scored at Ibrox, and you run behind the goal, like get down on your knees and celebrating. And you look at it now, there's no fans. We don't have fans. We don't have the broom long anymore. What's your views on it? Like, I know some fans are like, if we don't get the broom long, they're not getting Celtic Park, and some are just like, I just leave the allocation.
Yeah, it's all about the politics and things, isn't it? And I don't think players get involved in that hype of things, But my experience that day was like it was a full house at Ibrox, and the back. I'll never forget the day that it was the back of the goal, and I think there was 2,000 or 3,000 Celtic supporters at the back of the goal, and it felt like there was 60,000 once I hit the back of the net. But I always remember Frank Connor saying to me, and excuse the expression, he used to say to me, "See you," he says, "if you don't get to the fucking back post, he said, I'm going to break your jaw." That was one of Frank's favourite sayings, "I'll break your jaw." He said it to the likes of Charlie Nichols and Frank McAvenny and all these top players before me, and always stuck in my mind. And the ball is broke down the left of John Collins. I remember the game before that at Ibrox. It was something similar situation. John Collins just broke down the left, and I volleyed it about 2 or 3 yards wide. And then on that day, at Ibrox, the same situation sort of like happened in front of me again. And I thought, like, I always remember Frank saying, "Get to the back post." And I got to the back post, and once it came across, there was nothing else in my mind. My father always says, if you hear it first time, goalkeepers wouldn't be expecting it. And I couldn't hear it any sweeter. 9 times out of 10, you'd probably kill about 10 crows up in the stand or 7 pigeons. But that day I heard it sweet as a nut, and I flew in the bottom corner. But a lot of people sort of forget I'd scored the previous game before that at Hampden. We were beaten 3-1. Loudrup and Haley got 2, and I hit one with my left foot. Andy Gorham was rooted to the spot that made it 1-1. But we went on to lose that game at Hampden. So yeah, it was. As I said to you, it's Celtic family. They never let you forget. Fans never let you forget, no matter where you go in the world. And sometimes I feel I'm not worthy of that. But over the years, since I finished playing with Celtic, fans actually make you realise what you actually achieved as a footballer. Never mind a young Irishman coming from Dublin.
You went to Thailand, didn't you? With was it with Tomo? You went to Thailand a couple of years back.
Yeah, just before that, I was in Philadelphia. Just before that trip, and then we went to Thailand with Tomo. Yeah, great experience. It just goes to show you. I think we done a Q&A in Bangkok to 1,200 people or something like that.
Wow.
The night before we headed down to Thailand itself in Pattaya, and I think there was another 700 or 800 people there. Like it's just bizarre. No matter where you go in the world, whether it's Australia, America, Thailand, everywhere you're going to meet Celtic supporters, and it's just an amazing feeling when you do come across a few of them and they remind you of that goal,
I wish there was more of them in Dublin, to be honest with you. It just feels like it's 2 Celtic fans to every, 2 to 10. When you look at like Liverpool, Man United, they're all dominant because the Premier League has all the kids brainwashed into the modern day Premier League. This is the way it is. You got your Hallands and stuff, but I wish there was more fans that were into it. Like I opened up. I was a Liverpool fan when I was growing up as a kid, and then my uncle met a girl from Glasgow, from Clydebank, and she said to me, I was 16, get me a Champions League ticket for Christmas, and she's like, we're going to see AC Milan and Celtic last 16, you don't know what's going to hit you. And I turned around and said to her, I goes, I hope it's not the night Liverpool's playing against Barcelona, because I'm not going. And she was like, how dare you talk about my club like that. Now, I used to obviously have all the jerseys going up, like, but I didn't understand the concepts of what is Glasgow Celtic, what's the history like. So my uncle brought me over, and the day of the Champions League they were doing a stadium tour. It was 11 o'clock stadium tour, but Gordon Strachan pulled up. He was the manager at the time. It was Lenny's last season as captain before he left, and Borich got a picture with Borich. I didn't even know it was after Borich's birthday, but I remember Thomas Gravison saying to me, he's like, I'm not signing your top until I finish come out. And I was like, you could be an hour or 2. And he's like, I don't care, you'll have to wait. He was just so stubborn. I know a lot of people always talk big things about Gravison, just the way but then he said to me, he goes, you don't know what's going to hit you, son, later on, Champions League night. So we're doing the stadium tour going around, and I'm just like, oh, this is cool, it's a nice stadium and all that. And my uncle's like, over there on the right hand side, that's the Lisbon Lions stand. We're going to be literally 4 rows up in the goal. You don't know, have a clue what's going to hit you. And we're literally standing where Rod Stewart sits. Obviously, Rod, you've always met Rod Stewart and Billy Connolly in your days when you were playing. And it was just, I remember going up to the stadium, getting the bus up that night to the stadium, and the lights, obviously the big European setting, and you never walk alone hit me, and never look back. As you said, once you leave or whatever, even if you're a fan or a former player, you'll always have that connection. And you're saying years on, people appreciate you more for what you've done. You had that 2 years. It was a difficult generation at the time, because you're coming in to replace these players that are literally icons of the club and greats. But you've done a good job, and look, you've laid the foundations to the success. I know Tommy was unfortunate to not win the league, and then obviously Wing came in, and it was just all history then.
Yeah, it was just like we did lay the foundations that my final season there. We were beating the Wraith Rovers, we should never been beaten. I think we had about 20 chances to finish the game off, and we just didn't. It was just one of those days they hit the post or hit off someone's shin, and the back to it. All that sort of stuff went on, and we went to penalties, and the Maestro missed. If I had missed that day, my Celtic career was over anyway. But because it was Paul, all is forgiven, because he's the general of the club. And then the Scottish Cup, we won the Scottish Cup that year. And I think after we won the Scottish Cup, they went on to win multiple trophies after that. And I always remember John Hartson saying to me and Alan Thompson saying to me, Bunsey, you should be so proud of what you're doing, because you did what you just said there. You set the foundations. You players set the foundations for us. And Simon Donnelly went on to play with the likes of Larson and all these boys, Hartson and Sutty went at the time. They were brilliant. And Simon Donnelly was there, and Simon was sort of like, and I'm sure he doesn't mind me saying this, I've said it in a lot of interviews, that I just think maybe if I was too quick to jump ship on Celtic Football Club. I had a season left of me contract. I didn't want to sit on the bench and just collect money at a club like Celtic after what they had given me. They've given me the 2 years to change my life, and it did change my life. And I said to myself, I'm not going to be one of these players just going to sit on the bench and pick up his wage and maybe play the odd game here and the odd game there. And I had too much respect for the fans paying the sort of money for tickets and season tickets, for me just to be collecting X, Y, and Z for my wages. And I just felt that I'd done as far as I'd come with the club, and I appreciated everything they'd done for me. And I went down south thinking that it was going to be, I'm going to kick on here and go on and get a few games in the Premiership after Southend or whatever. Someone will pick you up, and it didn't really materialise in that way. I think I ever wrote a book. I think it'd be called The Nearly Man. I nearly made the World Cup. I nearly won a league title with Glasgow Celtic Football Club. So it was a lot of nearlies in over my career, and some rightly so was my own fault and my own doing, and I won't hide behind closed doors. And I got a little bit upset sometimes, and a little bit down, a little bit depressed, and
I was watching a podcast there the other day you done with JP and the Unrestricted View. Cracking interviews. You had a chat about mental health as well. Brilliant to hear, especially in Ireland. It's great to hear you talking about mental health. You've had a house in the same road as Rudy Vada?
Yeah, me and Rudy carpooled for a couple of years, and going back to the mental health thing is like, you still suffer today because you sort of blame yourself on certain things, and you're trying to look after a family and grandkids and girlfriends and ex-wives and your friends, and you're just trying to juggle a lot of things and work and stuff like that. And sometimes you get a little bit of time on your own, and you think to yourself, what if? A lot of people say you've done brilliant and you achieved everything and more than any other man would achieve. With playing with Glasgow Celtic and scoring against Rangers, but I still have them good days and bad days where I think to myself, what if? What if? And if I can help anybody else out there, we've got a club there now with Conor McGregor up in the Black Forge here, and we got ex-players playing there, and we've got other lads there that are involved, and it's just great to see the ex-players getting together and having a chat and getting out training on the Tuesday night, and it's brilliant still to be involved. But I think there's a lot of issues around football, and people don't realise. People think, they earn all this money, and what are they whinging about? And what's this, that, and the other? But at the end of the day, they're only human, and they've got all the problems that you have when you close your door. And whether you've got £2 in the bank or you got 2 million in the bank, it's when it's in your head and it's eating away at you. A lot of people in general life worry about bills and worry about keeping their job down. They worry about their kids, and it's just a constant thing. And I just felt that I let myself down, and it eats me sometimes, I'm not saying all the time, but sometimes I'll get a bit moment on my own, and you probably take it out on other people, and you won't behave in the way that people expect you to behave, and it was very, very hard. But now, look, it's all about getting the right help, and being around the right people, and I think if anybody needs that type of help, ex-footballers and stuff like that, it's in all walks of life. Everybody has it, and don't be afraid to go and speak to someone and try and thrash it out, and get yourself the help that you need.
100%, because I was watching an interview David Beckham done with Gary Neville, and he's talking about, like, when you were going through all that in '98, did you have any indication to go and see therapy? And you were like, when we were footballers back in the '90s, if you were saying you wanted to go and speak to a therapist, you'd be laughed at. You would be laughed at. And for you to overcome that and have playing for Celtic for that 2 or 3 years experience, and then going and walking with the likes of Liam Brady, Irish legend, he's done it all. I watched the thing RTE done about him playing in Italy for Sampdoria and Juve. Like, to have that experience even with Arsenal, to have him mentor you over you living with him for 6 months is remarkable. And like, you're going to say you're nearly the Neely guy. You're the guy that played for Celtic, coming from Dublin. If you never fulfilled that, you would have been probably doing something else.
Yeah, it's just one of them. Football was always my life from such an early age, and I never really paid attention at school because I knew that school was going to teach me. I didn't at that particular time. I just wanted to be a footballer. And sometimes when you're a professional footballer, you get to a certain level in your career, and the really, really good players really sort of maintain that consistency. And I sort of fell in that bracket of being too complacent at times, and your consistency in your play would fall because of it. And that's where I kicked myself over. That if I had been that little bit more professional and didn't go to bookies and didn't go to pub at the time, and but it's all ifs, buts, and maybes. And I think if you talk about it 24/7, you just drive yourself in the ground.
You were saying about the Black Forge. So, what is the plan for the Black Forge team at the senior team? Is a plan where Conor McGregor is trying to get them up to Leinster Senior, past Leinster Senior, and then try apply for League of Ireland status?
No, I don't think it's that with Conor. I think it's the people that are Conor supports it, and he's great. You can go to him at anything, and he's there. I just think the people that we have around the club at the moment, down to the management, down to the staff, down to the players, the likes of Bocca Bailey and people like that. We've got a lot of good players that played the game as well, and it's good for them to come and talk to players who've been in the same situation. And I think mainly it's that's what it's really set up for, to for everybody to have something to take their minds off the everyday of living, no matter what they're going through.
Fantastic. That's good to see. We're going to talk to you a bit about Ireland. Obviously, young Vata, he's at Celtic at the moment. His contract situation is in the mist. Where do you see Rocca Vata going? Do you think he could be an English Premier League player? The potential?
Look, I just think, Rudy's a very good friend of mine, and I think for young Vata to go down and prove himself in the Premiership, I think he's got a lot of people that say he's got to stabilise and cement his first team place at Celtic Football Club. I think if he gets into the first team and he shows that level of consistency and really become the player that we all think he can become, I think he really has to stamp that at Celtic before we start thinking about the Premiership. Because let's be honest, I don't think I've ever seen a player leave Celtic Football Club, and correct me if I'm wrong, that's gone on to bigger and better things and achieved a lot of stuff in their careers.
Except Van Dijk. Except Virgil, that's about it.
well, Van Dijk, and you could probably say like the likes of
Kenny.
Yeah, Kenny has gone to Liverpool, that type of thing. But there's not many, there's not really many. With the history of Celtic Football Club, there's not really that many players that have left Celtic Football Club and set the world alight, to be honest. And I just think young Vata has got to get his head down and concentrate on getting a little bit of level consistency into his game and getting the Celtic's first team and having the whole of Glasgow talking about him. Look, the young Ben Doak. I speak to Jackie about Ben Doak. I just can't get my head around that one. I think the kid is going to be worth, in my eyes now, no one else's eyes, but I think in my eyes, at this moment in time, you won't get any change for 50 million.
He's looking like a player. I watched him the other night in the Europa League.
We're letting young players leave Celtic Football Club, for 600,000 or 800,000 or 2 or 3 million, and they're going on to be superstars. So I'm just trying to think that we should try and keep our youth and the good quality of youth that are coming through, keep them together and let them perform for Celtic Football Club and win Celtic Football Club trophies. And once you do that, and you establish yourself and you're winning trophies, the fans, I know they do be a little bit upset when you leave or whatever, but I don't think they'll hold a grudge or hold it back on you that you're leaving the club to sort of, like, as they see, to better yourself.
They done it for a couple of months on Doak, and then they obviously in Doak getting featured for Liverpool, but they have no excuse now, because you think about it, the training facilities are going to be updated. You obviously, when you were playing for them, it was Barrafield, was it?
Yeah, Barrafield, yeah.
So
Siberia. It's like Siberia.
With them Glaswegian wins.
There was a bleeding breeze that had come across that park and cut you in two. So we always had the gloves and the snugs and the tights and everything that we had on up there. So yeah, but I think the facilities have changed a lot since I've been there.
But they're putting a new 2 new pitches in, a state of art indoor pitch, a gym in, sports science team, advancing that, and they're going to put more facilities in for the young youth and the women's team. So like the club obviously do care about the youth and developing the youths, because long term they might get a teeny project, a teeny fee of it if it's worth it. Yeah,
it's like, come here, it's like everything else. What club? What, see, in my time and maybe 10 years after my time, is that a lot of players would have been attracted to Celtic Football Club. A lot of young players would die to go to Celtic Football Club. But as you hit the nail on the head earlier on, you got these Premier Division clubs now that are putting these lads that are just coming straight out of, it's not even an apprenticeship anymore, because they're old enough to go into their first year pro, and they're giving them 5 and 8 grand a week as a first year pro, which is fair play, but I think it's a little bit ludicrous. And they're going to these top clubs now to get this type of money, and I don't think Celtic would pay a 17 or 18-year-old 8 grand a week coming through a youth system. I think it's gone. These lads are going more for the money now, more so than the love of the club or wanting to play for that particular club or play for a jersey. That's just my opinion on it.
You see, for example, Ralston's a great example of it. This is a guy that, about 3 or 4 years ago, I wouldn't even touch him. I wouldn't even put him near the reserves. And he went on loan a couple of times, and look at him now, and he got a new contract. He's at the putting his head down. That's 2 contracts in the space of 2 years. He's at the sign under Ange and under Brendan. And he asked him in the press conference, like, what's the message you give to the youth players? You just have to be patient and win the mind games of yourself. Once you're patient and you work hard and go in with the right mentality, it'll all be worth it.
1,000,000%. Young Scales is blowing me away, to be honest with you. He's an Irish lad. I think he's from Wicklow. He played a couple of League of Ireland clubs. He's come through Shamrock Rovers. He had a couple of consistent seasons at Shamrock Rovers. He first went to Celtic. He got a little bit of a knockback. He went to Aberdeen, come back a little bit stronger. And I just think he's been probably one of our best players in the last 5 or 6 matches.
He's fighting for that shot. You can see. I know, like, there's been a defensive crisis, but he's stepping in. Like, and this is when if we do win the league, which we're favourites to win the league, you'll be looking back at the end of the season and say, fair play to him. You know what? He deserves that medal, because when the times are wrong, he stepped in. We had a couple of clean sheets, and he settled Larga Bielka in at times. And even last night, there was stages in the game. He was nervous, but he wasn't afraid to be shy of a tackle. I remember I was in the Jock Stein stand last night, and it was needed to start. It was at the start of the game. It was about 10, 11 minutes in. Just could have been actually after Kyogo's goal, and he went in for a clearance, went in for throwing, and the staging just lifted when he won the ball, like stuff like that.
It's like what it is with him. Like, he came back from Aberdeen, he went into the first team. Now that's shit a bus time for him, right? Because if he has a couple of bad performances like he did before he went to Aberdeen, he's a numpty and he's not Celtic class, and all these things start coming out. And then the press hit him a little bit and he sinks back into himself, and it's a long way back to get back into the first team, confidence-wise, fitness-wise, all that sort of stuff. But he got his head down, and he's an example to every young player at Celtic Football Club and any club in the League of Ireland or anywhere, that if you have a dream and a goal, you go and get it. And you don't stop until you get what you want and where you want to go. And he has done that, because, as I said, if he had a couple of bad games, he said the career's over. But he's thrived, and he's had playing well in the last 6 or 7 games, and my hat comes off to him. And long may it continue. And then his reward at the end of that is we are favourites to win the league. If we win the league, well then he deserves that medal more so than anybody else in that pitch.
Do you think he could be? Do you think could be like a Darren O'Day for Celtic?
I hope not. But
because Darren O'Day featured the Champions League for 2 or 3 seasons, played well, and obviously got a couple of Ireland caps.
Yeah, I think they were giving them out for free at that time, Ireland. But the thing is, Darren O'Day is it's a different type of player to. I know Darren is still involved at the club over there, 23s level or something like that, or the B team or something like that. But I just think his thing is a little bit different. Darren went into a team where it was, established and, top quality players and stuff like that. This young lad is having to fight for everything that he's. Look, if he has 2 or 3 bad games, he's finished with Celtic Football Club. So he knows that every game he goes out and every line he crosses, he's got to give the maximum of his ability to stay in that team. And that's what's keeping him going, the fight, knowing that he needs to perform week in and week out on a consistent basis for Celtic Football Club to save his career. So that's basically where this young lad is at.
You seen it last night. Obviously, he took Nat Phillips on, bringing Carter Vickers on, and kept Scales on. And you've seen how composed they were at the back. And I think Rodgers believes in them big time. Like Rodgers said it even in pre-season, he goes, "I'm quite impressed with Liam Scales. Even that friendly at Dublin, he was impressed the way he played. Well to the back."
Yeah, he every game that he's playing now, he's grown. He's becoming a little bit more comfortable. And I like to see him when he does fulfil that his full potential, because there's still a lot in the kid at this moment in time. And I just think when he starts to feel really his full potential, which we all knew is why Celtic Football Club signed him in the first place, that he's going to be hard to take back out of that team. And the more he grows and the more he plays, the better player he's going to come.
100%. I had a chat with him last year. I met him in the airport for about chatting away to him for 2 hours, and he was like telling me about obviously the culture of the club when Andrew's managing there. And this was a week before he went to Aberdeen. I said to him, I goes, if the situation, if Scott Brown came in with Fleetwood Town fight, would you go down? He's like, in a heartbeat. He goes, once I'm getting first team football and the minutes is racking up and the reports are going back and I'm a steady head, that's all I care about. Then obviously Aberdeen came in. Aberdeen were raging that they didn't get him on the permanent. Because you've seen the performance he scored. That goal against Rangers, look, remarkable.
Yeah, this is what I'm saying. So he's a typical example to every young lad. Obviously when he first went, things didn't really work out. He went away, he worked on his game, he performed for Aberdeen. Celtic have taken him back and he's been consistent in the first team ever since. So, when things are going a little bit downwards in your career, work harder, be more positive, have good people around you. Do that little bit extra on the training ground. Just do what you need to do to make your all-around game better. And I think that young lad has achieved and has proven that. And long may he last in the first team and have a great career.
And he's the only first team regular Irish player that's playing in the Champions League as well.
Brilliant. It's a brilliant achievement. He probably doesn't even know he's breaking all these records, and people are studying him. But when you play for Glasgow Celtic Football Club, I guarantee you, you're scrutinised on everything that you do. And it was hard for us when we played, right? Because we were not having a great time. So when you're playing for Celtic Football Club and you're being scrutinised and the team is not playing well and you're getting beat by Park and Thistle on the Wednesday night, the Pistons Arena at Hampden Park, well, you're going to get slaughtered. And every rightly so, every player, every supporter has the right to have their opinion if they're paying to come and watch it. But when you're playing in a Celtic football team with the likes of the Larsons and the Hartsons and all these people, and you're winning trophies week in and week out, or year in and year out, the little mistakes that you make on the pitch, here and there, that you get away with because you're winning trophies. Because we were scrutinised and you were there. You were bad. The team was bad. You were brutal tonight and all that. You gave the ball away too many times. But if you're winning games and you're winning trophies, half of these things are not even seen. They're brushed under the carpet as long as we get that medal or that trophy at the end of the season. And that was the hardest part for me playing for Celtic at the time because we weren't winning trophies.
He's had a good unit. He's had a good experience. It felt like, yourself, second place in Glasgow. It feels like it's last place.
Yeah, but look at the team. Look at the team that we had. As I said to you earlier on, no disrespect to the lads. I think we all knew that at the time anyway. young lads coming through and the senior players that were finishing up. But when you look across the other side of the city, you got Basil Bowley, Richard Goff, you got Durant, you had McCoist, you had Brian Laudrup, you had all these type of players that were just really on top of the game at the time. And obviously Rangers were going for 8 and 9 in a row, and we were under pressure trying to stop that. And when we didn't stop it, as I said, you got a lot of bad press and a lot of bad stick. But over the years, once all that died down, I think people realised how bad things were at the club and how hard it was to play for the club at the time. And I think that really got me out of the shit, if you like, is the 2 goals against Rangers and playing against them 8 times. And as a selfish point of view, from an Irish fan doing that, and my achievements and my goals with Celtic Football Club, I achieved them. All right, I didn't win trophies, but there's more than one man in the team, and I just think that at that particular time, if I had been part of the Scottish Cup, I probably would have stayed the following season for pre-season, and God knows what would have happened. Simon did, I didn't, and the rest is history.
I'm going to talk to you actually about the League of Ireland. It's great to see the standards going up massively. I know you played for Bows, for Pats, and you even had did you play for Shells as well at one point?
I had one game at Shells. It was down on who did we play against at the time? Oh yeah, it was up Ballybuffet, pissing around, freezing cold.
Finn
Harps. My first game and my last game was like, nah, I was only back. I was like, nah, this is not for me. And I went off and I put a few pounds on as you do when you first come home. And then the likes of Roddy stepped in, and I ended up playing for Bows. We were nearly relegated that season. We had to get down to, I think it was Cove Ramblers or something, and get a result down there in it. I think it was 2 legs anyway. And then the following season, I stayed there and I got myself in some sort of shape and fit. And the club didn't want to sign me, and Roddy did. And I went back and forwards for a while. Eventually, I signed. And we went on to win the double that year. Roddy made me captain for the first cup final. They went to the replay, and was some great times with Roddy and Bowles. Played with the likes of Kevin Hunt, Morrow, Steve McCaffrey, Glenn Crowe, Billy Boy Malloy, Brian Shelley. We had a great side, and we won the double. And then the following season, I ended up moving to play in the MLS for the Philadelphia Union. I was over there for a season, and then I came back and signed for Pats because I was at the mean playing out in the sunshine out there, and the weight was at the falling off me because I was training in 30 or 40 degrees of heat. And it was I won the League Cup with Pats that year, and then I went on to win the double with Roddy in the same season. So I won the treble that year.
I'd say it was good. Did you play many derbies against Rovers when you were playing for Bows?
Yeah, I played a few. Yeah, I was in the famous one out in Morton Stadium when we were 3 or 4-0 down. Roddy was going to lose his job, and we came back and won 5-4. That was a great game that I'll always remember. And then obviously, when I started coming towards the end of my career, I had my young son Curtis. He went to Hibernian, and I think he played the 2nd or 3rd game in the first team for Hibernian, and I was at Parkhead, and that was a great time for me to see him playing at Parkhead after me playing for Celtic. And then he went down to Ross County. He done really well at Ross County. He came up from the 2nd division. He played the full season with Ross County in the Premier in Scotland, and had a bit of a similar career to myself a little bit. He went to Scotland and played in the Premier. Came home and played for Dundalk. I played for Dundalk. He played for Bows. I played for Bows. He played for Pats. I played for Pats. So he had a good little career. He scored some fantastic goals, and he's 33 now, coming up at 34, and some great times. So I have a grandson now coming through now, so hopefully he's going to be the next one to give me the interest in the football. Yeah,
fantastic. It's just as I went to a League of Ireland game last year. I actually went to see Pats in Dundalk. One of my mates is mad into Pats, and he brought me to Shed End. Now I don't support any League of Ireland teams because I just want to support one club and that's it. But I went over and the atmosphere was just amazing, just amazing. It was a 1-1 draw, but it was just rocking. The Shed was, and it's the same. Like, it's great to see Bows have done well this season. Like, I know Rovers obviously are 5 points ahead at the moment of Pats, but Pats obviously messed it up against Strada last week.
Yeah, the playing in the Shed against the Shed packed when I was at Pats was a great. It was great atmosphere, as you say. But one of my first experiences to play in a game like that was the jungle. at Parkhead, coming out to play in front of the jungle. I always heard about the jungle at Parkhead, and it was this and that, and it'd be bouncing. And I just came out of that tunnel and I looked to the right, and this place was just absolutely rocking. And I don't think we were even doing really well in the league at that time. But I'll never forget when we played Sporting Lisbon in the European Cup. We beat them 1-0 at home. They beat us 2-0 away, and Cadetti got the 2 goals, and we signed them 6 months after. But just that atmosphere, as you say, your European night, going to watch Glasgow Celtic. I had European nights playing for Glasgow Celtic, and if anybody has never gone to see Celtic Football Club before on a European night, it's probably one of the best experiences in the world, in my eyes, anyway.
100%. One of the questions was, did you run up the steps like Rocky and Philly?
I think by the time I was coming towards the end of my career, I wouldn't have made it to the top of them steps, to be honest, so I didn't even try.
You played down in Texas as well for a while, didn't you?
Yeah, I actually went over to live in, I'm actually managed player coach as the Houston Hurricanes. And there's an Irish lad who's Celtic fanatic, actually owned the club. And I went over there and I played a few games for them, but I was actually player manager at the time. So, I was sort of travelling around a little bit, and football brings you to as you say, the likes of the Thailands and the Phillies and all these places. Football brings you to some amazing parts of the world. And I could never fault what I achieved in my footballing career and where I travelled and the people that I met. It was just amazing, and not a lot of people get a chance to achieve that.
100%. I'm going to talk to you about Celtic in the Champions League. Like, I know 2 games in, we shot ourselves in the foot last night regard to bad defensive errors. Do you still think we have a chance of getting through? I know it's 4 games to go. Look, at the next 2 are difficult. Yeah,
like as I said to you earlier on before we come on air, it's when you're playing in the Scottish League, you can get away with not having a certain level of consistency because of the sort of some of the standard of some of the games. But if you go into a European night and you're below par in any way, shape or form, and you're not going in with certain players, haven't got that little bit of consistency in that game, you're going to be found out. You really are. And like, you might make a couple of mistakes in the Scottish League and you won't be punished, but you make a mistake in the Champions League and you're punished. And that's the difference between the levels of football. So I think if we tighten our belts a little bit, and I won't say it's belief, I'll just say that little bit level of consistency and a little bit of belief that we can actually go and compete against these teams. Because sometimes we look like a little bit, I don't know, a little bit of afraid of some of the teams that we're playing. And maybe I shouldn't use the word afraid, but I just think that you need to step up your game from the Scottish football to the Champions League. It's a massive step, and if you're not ready for that Champions League night, you will be turned over. And unfortunately, last night I just thought we were a little bit lucky because I thought there was a hint of offsides of the goal, but we all know what's going on in the VAR at the moment. So that's for another day, I suppose.
I hope they bring in the like the rugby. You hear the officials talking in VAR. I think they need to bring that in football.
Yeah, to me, this is their job, isn't it? Like I can't understand. You've got referees and linesmen, ex-referees and linesmen doing this VAR. Why not have ex-footballers? They know the game inside out. They know how the game is played and stuff. Some of these people doing VAR probably never kicked the ball out of the way in their life. So I just think we need to have a look at that. Maybe have 2 referees, ex-referees, and 2 ex-footballers, and But I just think what's after coming out now, I think everybody at the start actually thought VAR was a farce, and then we got a little bit of belief in it somewhere along the line, and now I just think what's after happening between Liverpool and Spurs is that they're blowing the whole lot out of the water, and I think there's going to be a lot of controversy still going to go on about this because are they going to replay the game? Are they not? What does Liverpool do? And Liverpool lose the league by 2 points at one point at the end of the season. This is the game that's cost them, and there's going to be a hell of a lot more about what's actually happened last week, and it's not going to be good for the game no matter what happens.
Exactly, but it's the same with the pundits and the media. They're going to big it up as much as well, because I was reading an article saying that in the Premier League rules, there's no such thing as a replay. Never will be a replay.
No, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. I know it's not going to happen. But if Liverpool Football Club lose the league by a point or 2 points at the end of the season, what's going to be the talking point? These decisions are losing managers their jobs. these decisions are causing clubs financially. So we need to get the right people in place if we're going to use this VAR. And at the moment, it's a little bit of a farce at the minute. So I just think it's about time that you need to get this right and get it right quickly, because there's too much money and too much of people going to lose out over the next couple of years that they're going to be using this.
Even last night for Palmer's disallowed goal, it took forever. For them to, like, obviously it was at the game and it didn't look like where I was sitting. I was like, look, I'm behind the goal. I thought it was onside, and then I look back at it this morning. I'm like, yeah, it was offside. It was offside by a yard and a half. But I think Palmer's going to be a good player for Celtic.
Yeah, I think he is. I think he's going to be a very good player. Don't get me wrong, Celtic have some smashing players, but it's getting that gel together and the consistency together on European nights, and grabbing it by the scruff, because these nights will not come too far between for a lot of players. They might never get this opportunity again, so go and give it your all. Like, I'm not saying players are not giving their all, but just take that chance, and you're playing for the biggest club in the world.
I felt like Tate in the first half of the game last night. It was horrendous. Like, I just felt like the midfield were always had their back to the ball. Like, they were not taking it. Callum was the only one that looked up for it in the first half. And now O'Reilly came into it in the second half. Thought he played well. Just a Tate, he just looked weak. He looked vulnerable in the midfield. He just didn't look like he had a plan. Didn't have that confidence to get past people, take it past the Rio Tate we seen last season when he was playing against the likes of Real Madrid. It was unbelievable. Yang as well. Yang was afraid to take players on at one point, and then he eventually got into it. But Maeda only for the first 15 minutes of the game, he took the winger or the left back on, and then he was afraid that he kept going inside. I was like, that's not like Maeda and all. Don't get me wrong.
This is what I'm saying to you. These players need to get that level of consistency. It's like when you go into European games, right, you got to save your energy as much as you can and go into burst on the attack. We don't look comfortable keeping the ball. You watch other teams against us in Europe, and they're passing it and they're zinging it around, and it's little 2-touch and 3-touch, maybe a 6-yard, and then a long ball in between. We feel it's all like it's a rush. That we should be keeping the ball that little bit better. And then, as I say, it's all about consistency with some players. I don't know whether it's a little bit of belief on European nights, or they're not good enough, or they shouldn't be there. I don't know what it is, but I just think every time we go into European games that we just lack that little bit of, little bit of quality.
Especially at home, I feel like we're giving the opposition more respect to have the ball, as you were saying, and I feel like the occasions getting to these players. It's a big Champions League night. It's Celtic Park. It's all well known for the atmosphere. But when it comes down to it, it just feels like it's overwhelming, and we're giving away silly goals. Like, there was the days where we could beat anyone at home. Anyone. Yeah. Look at Barcelona, the best team in the world at one point, and we beat them.
Yeah, when we talk about this, Tomo comes out to me, as I said, and we speak on the phone, and same with John Hartson and stuff like that. These players that we have now, they just need to realise that they're playing for Celtic Football Clubs, one of the biggest clubs in the world, and on European nights they might never experience that again, and just go out and give their all. And as I said, we need to keep the ball that little bit better. We need to show a little bit more quality. And we feel like it's a hot potato sometimes for some of our players. It's like they don't want the ball, like, get it away from me. But the opposition are coming and they're taking it down, and they're playing little 2 and 3 yard passes, and they're comfortable, and they're always going to get a chance. And if you make silly mistakes in the Champions League, you're going to be punished. And I think that's what happens with us. We're giving silly balls away, and it gets broken down, and we're not getting that consistency of passing together, and everything just keeps getting broken down. And then
I just felt like it was always at the back last night. Passing in the back, just between the defenders. It wasn't even a case where the midfield was calling out. Callum was the only one that was calling out for the ball to take it up. The rest,
we're not hurting people. We're not hurting them. We're not hurting the opposition at Parkhead the way we used to. And Champions League is going to bring quality players to Parkhead, and it's all right maybe winning the games at home, but when we travel away, we don't look the same team, to be honest, in Europe, and I think we need to get the grips of that. I know the league is your bread and butter, and the Scottish Cup and the League Cup and all that sort of stuff, but I think now that you win those cup competitions on a consistent and regular basis, I think your next challenge is Europe, and some of the players are falling short in European football.
100%. We're nowhere near a Champions League team. I know, like, obviously the salaries are different, teams we're playing, but it's just, as you said, you having players that are coming in from different leagues, different cultures, and they're just not realising what the club they're playing for at this level. They don't realise the star they have in that jersey is because we won that trophy, and that was
Yeah.
a hard end team of within 30 miles of Celtic Park to do that. Like a story that no one will ever touch.
No.
But it's just it just feels like, there's there's not that leadership with some players on that pitch. And when I'm looking at leadership, I'm looking at maybe Alistair Johnson could be a future captain. Carter Vickers is a leader. Callum's a leader, but the rest of them, like they say, Taylor's a bit of a leader as well behind the scenes. But it's just the football is just changing more for. It feels like there's just prima
Well,
donnas now.
you look at the team I played in with the likes of, you just said about, these players, some of these players don't realise what the jersey and the star and the jersey. You look at the Peter Grants who would die, you cut him, he's green. Paul McStay, you cut him, he's green. Frank McAvenny, all these players who played for Celtic Football Club, played for the jersey of Celtic Football Club. And then you move on to the likes of Big John and stuff like that, who, got to know the culture very quickly, played in a top quality team, won a lot of trophies, played for Celtic Football Club. And as you say, then there's different nationalities coming in now in the last couple of years, and maybe don't realise how big and how much we want to win trophies and be successful, in Europe and stuff like that. And they don't really get the grasp of that. And they just fall away the wayside, because at the end of the day, if you're not going to perform for Celtic Football Club, you will be found out and you will have to leave. It's as simple as that.
I say you're always about 1 or 2 games away from being dropped and never getting back in there.
But that's what I'm saying. This is the way it's going. This is the way it's going. You have to have that consistency. And as I said earlier on about Scalzi, he's come back and he's proven, he's played. But he knows that them 7 games that he's played, if he has 2 bad games, he's out of the team. And it's very hard to get back into a team. Really, really hard. Especially domestically, because 9 times out of 10, they're going to win the games. So sometimes you don't change a winning team, or you leave a couple of players out for a rest or whatever. But you're only, as you say, 2 bad games away from probably never playing for the club again.
What's your views on obviously Bale got sacked? Are you think we're going to be maybe double figures winning this league?
Yeah, I think so. I said it before the season started. We probably win by 15 or more points. I don't think I'm not going to change my view on that. I think any man that comes into Rangers Football Club, it's a poison challenge. Stevie G done okay, and he changed a few things around up there. But I said it 7-8 years ago. It's Celtic that's going to dominate for the next 10 years, and I think we're going to dominate for the next 3 or 4, and that'd be the 10 years that I said, and probably going to dominate for even more, because I think Rangers are so far off it from Celtic Football Club at the moment that probably can't see any way back.
Definitely. What will be a successful season now, considering the loss in the Champions League? Well, the 2 losses in the Champions League. What is a successful season? Just winning the league and the Scottish Cup.
Yeah, we need. That's our bread and butter. We need to continue to win, no matter how we fail in Europe at the moment. I just think maybe get a couple of games under our belt in Europe, a couple of wins for the pride, and see where it takes us. But definitely go on and win the league and the Scottish Cup, and rub Rangers' face in it again once again.
100%. And who would be the ideal keeper for you to bring in then?
Who?
For Celtic, obviously it's a season left now with Joe Hart this season. Then would you think Celtic should approach Creevy and Kelleher? I know the wages is the question point.
100%. I think he'd be absolutely immense for Celtic Football Club. Really, really, he'd be a really big changer for Celtic. If they get him, I would actually push the boat out for him, and I would give him what he wants, and you're in safe. I know it's going to be a bit of a quirky saying here, but you're going to be in safe hands for a few seasons to come.
Exactly. We're probably lucky to get we will probably get 3 or 4 seasons out of him. Big time. Well, if you have to break the bank, and break this Edward fee to get him in, and this is where Celtic need to move forward as a business tool. I know, like, they've obviously done the retention side of it. I think you're probably shocked as well the last few weeks of all these contract deals coming out.
Yeah, that's 100%, and it's Celtic. I don't even when I played, going back to when I played, and the lads after me and the lads after them. I just don't think it's going to change. I think that's why we sort of don't attract the sort of like the pinnacle of these players to go on play and really compete in the Champions League. The likes of Jota, I can't for the life of me understand why Jota would want to leave Celtic Football Club, and look what he's doing now. He's looking to come back. But as I said to you, these players at this club right now don't realise that when they leave Celtic Football Club, there's nowhere they can think and say what they want and go somewhere else for an extra few pounds in their pocket. But if I was at Celtic Football Club now, I know what I'd be doing.
You look at Hooper. Hooper's a prime example. He went to Norwich and then he ended up playing in all over the world. And he came out and said in the Masters, the post-match interview, and he said, "Oh, the best 3 years of my life was up here."
Yeah,
Brendan's looking, I'll come back.
Best 3 years of my life up there, and you can ask any other any ex-player that played for Glasgow Celtic Football Club. It's the best of their careers. The likes of Andy Payton, he's coming back to playing that game in next week and stuff like that. And even Andy will tell you, the likes of Stuart Slater, all these players that I played with, it's. Once you leave Celtic Football Club, I say it in every interview, and I'll keep on saying it for the rest of the interviews, you're going downhill. And that's just the bottom line of it. Celtic football, when you're at Celtic Football Club, you got a chance to play for Celtic Football Club, grab it with both hands.
Good stuff. Who was the hardest player you played against?
Oh, Jesus. In Scotland or ever?
Ever.
Robinson off Rangers, the left full, actually went down to Leeds. But one of the hardest tacklers I ever played against was Vinnie Jones. He actually hit me a tackle one time and just leaned over me and told me to get up. That was a PUSSY. So I wasn't going to answer him back.
Big Vinnie.
Yeah. So yeah, he was one of the hardest ones. Yeah.
When you were living in Glasgow, do you ever have any hassle with people coming up and giving you sectarian abuse, anything when you're obviously playing for Celtic back in the day?
Yeah, of course. It's everywhere, isn't it? It's everywhere. Once you're playing for Celtic Football Club and you got Rangers across the road, you're always going to get that. It's like walking up the street in Belfast. Whether you play football or you don't. Unfortunately, that's the life of being a Celtic football player living in Glasgow. You
don't know how Neil Lennon done it with all the death threats and all that. How he got through it. It's crazy, isn't it?
It's frightening, and you know what? It's hats off and credit to the man. I know Lenny. I spoke to Lenny a few times over the years, and as you say, it must have been very, very hard. But he showed his loyalty. He showed his quality as a manager and a player for the football club, and I thought he'd done a fantastic job.
100%, and it breaks my heart that we have a portion of fans that never forgive him for what he actually done for the club. Overall, like 10 titles as a player and a manager. People forget that he always judge his Celtic career on one bad season. Bad season. And it's disgusting. It really is, because, as you said, he was a former captain. He played in European final for Celtic, and there's that portion of fans that will never forgive over that.
Actually, we said we wouldn't forgive Brendan Rodgers, and look where he is today. So,
how was your reaction to it when he was linked to us? Like,
it's brilliant. I know Brendan through Maggie McCoy when he was down in Watford and stuff like that. I was managing a team in England called Hemel Hempstead, and I was down in Watford. I used to go to training ground, and I remember him, and I always remember him coaching and stuff like that. And I said, he's going to be fantastic. He came down through Chelsea's youth team and stuff like that. And I said, he's going to be a fantastic coach. And I spoke to Malky a couple of times about his knowledge and he's the way he thinks about the game and stuff. And when he went to Celtic Force, I said he's going to be a success. When he left Celtic Football Club, people are saying we never take him back. But Brendan is back, and what he knows how to do is get a good team together and win trophies. And I think that's not going to change with him.
I think the fourth season with Europe is, you give him, he's only putting a team in place. Let him go in and get the experience of gelling this team in Europe. Like, I'm seeing stuff today on like Talk Sport and all this, like 9% win ratio in the Champions League, pathetic stuff. Like,
yeah.
It's the outside media that taking the club for granted how big Celtic is. Yeah.
People are always going to try and put Celtic down, and everybody's going to try and judge Celtic on European on the European rewards, if you like. But it's Celtic Football Club. It's there to be shot at, and that's what certain people like to do. So I think this year we just need to win the league, win the cup, and get some sort of pride in Europe and see where it takes us.
Would you like to see Celtic ever playing in English football?
Honestly, no, because I just think that it'll just take the whole thing away from Scottish football if Celtic and Rangers ever left. I don't think there'd be much of a league left up there. I think it'll probably go in the League of Ireland. Money be taken out of it, and sponsorships will be taken out of it, and all sorts of stuff. So it'll probably ruin the Scottish game. So for that reason, no.
Good stuff. Because I had a friend that done a bit of whole research into it. So if Celtic were to play, say, English Premier League, you're looking at about 10 grand spent on away trips, like getting down there, driving down. You're looking at trips that Southampton were in the league when he done all his work, that all out at the time. Accommodation, it'd be crazy. I wanted to stay in Scottish football, but if the right money came in, right owner came in, why not?
Yeah, look, we'll never say never.
You know yourself, with the stature of the club, with the stadium, with the fan base, we'd go down there and easily.
Yeah, that's fine saying that. Then you're going to need the whole new owners of Celtic Football Club, because if you think you're going to go down there, and compete at the highest level and pay players,
it'd be a 3 or 4 year project easily.
It would, but you'd have to be prepared to pay the sort of money that Premier Division players expect to be paid. And I don't know whether Celtic Football Club would do that or not.
Yeah, it just, as you said, it all depends on the board, depends on if an owner.
The mentality of the owners, the board, and all the other things, and the sponsorship deals and all that comes with it. And as you say, travelling, there's flights, there's hotels, there's all sorts of things to be thought about. But look, as you say,
I think our fans are happy with. I think our fans are quite happy with the 3 or 4 games a season away in Europe. I think they're pretty happy with it.
I think so. I think that's where we are at the moment. I think that's where Celtic Football Club is at the moment. And I'd love to see it. Don't get me wrong, but do I ever think it'll happen? No, I don't.
There's a message for you, Paul, saying thanks very much for the amazing goals against Rangers in 94, 95.
Yeah, it's, as I said to you at the start of the programme, it's everywhere I go. And it's just an amazing feeling when people still come up to you today, 40 years later, and say the same thing. And I'd like to thank all the Celtic supporters over the years of the support that they've given me when I was there and when I left the club and still today. So, yeah, thanks very much for having me on and giving me the opportunity to get that story to everybody. Fantastic.
Look, Paul, I wish you the very best. Good luck in Glasgow next week as well. I know you'll have a great day over in St. Rocks as well.
Sound. Right. I've got 1% left on my battery here, so before you knock it off and you think I'm rude, I've 1% left, so I'll have a little chat with you another time. And,
thanks, Paul.
I'll talk about that game when I come back another time for you, yeah?
Fantastic. I wish you all the very best, man. Legend.
God bless you. God bless you, Paul. God bless you.
That was Paul. That was good old Paul. The dub himself. Look, a fair play to him. He went over, took the 2 years. I watched a previous podcast and he said he didn't think he was even going to get break into the first team, and he got into the first team and he held himself in the first team and scored some really good goals, as he's talking about. So to play with the likes of Paul McStay and all, I know he's saying that he's obviously coming through with the same time as Simon, and he has a good relationship with Jackie. It's good to see that. You don't get that with many clubs. These are guys after him, and he has a strong bond with them. And look, I wish him the best over next week in St. Rocks, the AXOM event with St. Rocks and Celtic Legends in William Mady Park. Fantastic stuff. I hope it gives you some more of an insight into a former footballer as well, the way they think about their ups and downs of their career as well. Great to have him on. Great to hear, obviously, about he's having a chance to Jack Charlton. Obviously, worked with one of the, Irish legends, Liam Brady, Jack Charlton, Ronnie Whelan. And then obviously Lou McCoy, he dealt with Celtic, and then dealing with Tommy Bones and dealing with Liam Brady as well as Celtic. Good guest. I thought I'd change it up. It's good to get someone else. As I said, I'm I'm living over here now and being away from home as well. It'd be difficult at times, but he's been over there. He's done it himself. He's played the magnitude of playing for Celtic back in the 90s when obviously when Rangers were successful, they had the players and these guys went out there and they knew that the backs was against them and they got results at Ibrox. They got results and they were unlucky to not win that cup final, as you were saying, against Wright Rovers. But Paul and that team from that early 90s, from 1990 up to 1995, laid the foundations. When you got your Pierre Van Hooijdonks that came in, your George Gadetis, your Paulo Di Canhos, your Andres Toms, these players that really got stuck in, and then obviously Henrik came in, and then the rest is history. The rest is history. So I said I'll pop on tonight, folks. I will be back over the next couple of days, just do the regular daily videos and stuff. So I was at the game last night, so that's why there was no post match reaction. I'm going to give you my honest opinion. I know I talked a bit about it to Paul, but I just think some of the players don't take the occasion, and I felt last night we had our chances. We got stuck in, and I thought we started well against them, but we gave Lazio too much possession of the ball. Too much possession. I know one or two comments said it was poor decisions against us. At the end of the day, we need to put the ball in the back of the net as well. The ball back in the net went in when Palmer done it, but it was offside. But I just feel like we were very weak in midfield last night. Very weak. And if we're going to be weak against Lazio at home, what are we going to be like in Madrid? Are we going to step up and be the underdogs and actually give Madrid a game, home and away? Because I'll be brutally honest with you, I'm dreading the two Atletico Madrid games. I really am, home and away, because I've said it. I said when the group was confirmed. At the end of the day, Atletico Madrid are going to be a nightmare to play against. Look, Feyenoord scored a couple of goals against them last night, and we had Feyenoord on the ropes for 50 minutes of the game, even though they scored that free kick at the stroke of half time. But we came out, we still played well against them, and then the two men got sent off. So I'm just hoping that we can go over there and get result in Madrid and get result at home at Celtic Park as well. Most important, because if you're going to make a statement in any prospect, as Paul said, have a bit of pride, go for a win or two. The players need to buy into it. Yet the standards are maybe they're playing against players like Griezmann and guys that have played in World Cup finals and Champions League finals and so on, but take anyone. That's it, go over there, have no fear. At the end of the day, it'd be great. It'd be great to get results. It's just, as I said, I'd done the podcast the night after the Feyenoord game, and I didn't want to Debbie Downer, but I looked at it in a reality perspective. I looked at it, thought with my head and my heart, and we always fail in the Champions League. We're just not a Champions League team, and we all know we're not a Champions League team. But you need to go in with some sort of pride and say, well, look, let's give this team a go for their money. Let's give this team a run for the money, like the days of O'Neill's and Strachan's and Lenny. We don't do that anymore. And I don't know, it's just the landscape of football. We're bringing these boys in cheap deals to develop them, and they're just not hitting the Champions League standards. And I mean Champions League standard is going out and having a good game. I remember, for example, Paul Caddis. Paul Caddis had a stormer game in the Champions League when the games I went to. As I spoke about Darren O'Neill, guys that were coming through, and they took it. They took it. Look at Aidan McGeady's a prime example. McGeady had some cracking games for Celtic in his younger days, early days of Celtic, in the Champions League. It's just, I just feel like some of these players are not taking it, and I feel like Scales took it last night in parts of the game. We really got stuck in, and it's great to see Carter Vickers back. That's the positive about it, the whole game, is Carter Vickers and Kyogo scoring. That's good that Kyogo got that goal in Europe as well, Brilliant Corvo. But the Seth, I didn't even bother. I didn't bother watching that game anyway. But folks, I want to jump off. I will be back for a podcast by myself the next couple of days. I just want to give a massive thanks to Paul as well for popping on tonight. It's, as I said, it's just good to get an outside perspective of a former professional footballer that lived the dream, that played for the club in the difficult times of the 90s. He's still done it. He still scored. He still played. He still played with these players, and you know what? Fair play to him. And it's great to see that he can go to places for events like Philadelphia and Thailand and get appreciated for what he done. Them iconic goals. Still people thank him for it. And that's great to see. You know, you're not going to get that affiliation and love when you go to other clubs. As he said, when you leave Celtic, it always goes downwards. Some players might go to a level where, like a King Kenny or a Van Dijk or a Henrik, as he said, but majority don't. Majority don't. And he had the chance and he done it, and fair play to him. Fair play to him. You know, and especially footballers these days, it's not easy being a professional footballer. As much as we think, you know, they're getting paid good money, they have to deal with the scrutiny, playing for a club, a high altitude. They have to deal with the social media abuse if they have social media. They have to deal with keeping their family straight. So if they have kids, grandkids, or whatever, well, obviously not grandkids, kids, family members getting abused because they're not playing well, they're getting called this. Like it's not an easy job, folks. As much as we think, you know, they're paid salaries to go out and do that job and deliver the goods. And as much as I say like about Atate or about Yang, the same time, it's about the culture of the club. It's about the manager sitting down and having this conversation and saying, right, you weren't up to standard last night. I could see you do better. And I mean, I know this is a Champions League night, but I've seen you being at a better level, and I know you can play at a better level. And if you want to play at a better level and you want to develop your career, you got to take that chance in the Champions League and give yourself that extra 15, 20% that you never had in the tank before. Go for it. And I'm sure Brendan is an elite manager, and I know there's been people on other podcasts saying he's not an elite manager, and I'm like, I'm starstruck, and I'm like saying to myself, I'm like, how does fans not think this guy is not an elite manager? Maybe because he hasn't won a Premier League title. He was close to winning a Premier League title. You know, he done well with Leicester. Two fifth-place finishes, a European semi-final, an FA Cup win, a Charity Shield win, and then what he done with Celtic in his first term around, and people don't call him elite manager. I just don't get some fans. I really don't get some fans. And then they're saying like, oh, he's just using us. It's a job. If he does use us for 3 years and we use him and get trophies and deliver, it's a winner. It's a winner. At the end of the day, keep your own thing, mate. You don't like to be like other pods valued by Celtic. Your content's superb and I never miss a video. I don't need to be like other Celtic podcasts. That's what makes me different, Red. I just, as I say, I'm watching it, and I'm not talking about other podcasts. I'm talking about comments in the podcast. I'm like, oh my god! Like, I'll give a massive shout out to JP and the Celtic Unrestricted podcast. Sit there for a good about 2 or 3 years, 2 or 3, I was gonna say years, 2 or 3 hours of work. Listen to them, and the guys are so underrated. So underrated. Like, you need to start watching them, folks. These guys actually have a brain and talk passionate. Some podcasts out there do not have a brain. They don't show you the passion. They want to talk about statistics. They want to talk about this. I'm sorry, I don't buy into a Monday Night Football Celtic talk. I don't buy into that. I buy into just listen to someone talking like a human being in a pub, talking about Celtic, talking about the stories, talking about the goals, talking about this. I just don't know how some people do it. I just honestly don't know how some people could sit there for an hour and talk about statistics. Yes, that's their passion about that. I respect that, and at the same time, it's not my cup of tea. I wouldn't be into it. I don't know how some people are into it, but look, I always say to people, if you're going to do a YouTube channel, or you're going to do a video, or you're going to put yourself in front of social media, it takes a lot of balls. It takes a lot of balls. And dealing with the scrutiny side of it, dealing with people when they say, oh, you said a wrong word, or you pronounced that wrong, you pronounce this. I've had people on this channel that live up the road for me and tell me I need to pronounce me words in a certain way. They're not coming on to praise me, they're coming on to criticize me. And you know what that does for me? It gives me fuel. It gives me fuel, because when they do that again, I'll turn around and say, well, am I still here? Am I still standing? Am I still doing podcasts? Yeah. Is my podcast going up? Yeah. Because I'm good at what I do. I'm passionate what I do. I don't see you doing what I'm doing. Maybe because you feel like it's okay to sit behind the phone or behind the computer screen, and type and think you're great by correcting me for my mistakes. And my mistakes give me positivity to go on and succeed and do good. And that's anyone that wants to do a podcast, folks, practice makes perfect. Practice makes perfect. And I've taken so much of it, and you know what? The praise the support from you over the last, even in December, from December to June, the support of me not making videos, for you saying, "Oh, Keith, great to have you back. Or great to have you back. Keep up the good work." I don't milk it. I don't need that. I get that from you because you buy into me vision. You buy into what I feel and I say. I may not. What my opinion of a player or a manager, you may not like it, but this is what the channel's here for. It's about voicing opinions, about venting. It's about getting your knowledge across. And there is stuff that I would not have a clue about Celtic back probably in the 80s or probably in the 70s that you would, to the older subscribers, because we do have a lot of subscribers on this channel that watch me, or that are in the 50s and the 60s, and it's great it's great for you to come up with these comments and tell me about that and educate me about that. It's all a learning curve, folks, and I appreciate you coming in, stepping in and saying, "Oh, Keith, this is who scored that day. It was George McCluskey." I remember Feed the Bear getting stuck in that derby. I remember Feed the Bear getting stuck in many derbies, like stuff like that. It educates me, and I love it. And like, see, when I sit down, I try to do player throwbacks. It's too hard to do player throwbacks because I could read something off a sheet. I could tell you these goals. I could tell you this game, but I don't feel it the way people that were there that day feel it. I don't feel it the way that yous were there Love Street 86. You know, or yous are there when Celtic done 9 in a row in the 70s / going in the early 80s, whatever. You know, it's just unbelievable. It's unbelievable stuff, and I love it. I absolutely love doing this podcast. So I'm going to jump off. I want to say a massive thanks to people who tuned in. Good crack, good laugh for Paul, and I'll be back in the next couple of days. So that I'll get a couple of videos up, and I'll speak to you all soon. Take care.